Nicolae Ceaușescu was born on January 26, 1918, in a small village called Scornicești in Romania. He became the leader of Romania and was the country's president for many years. His rule is remembered for being both powerful and controversial, marked by significant changes to Romania's politics, economy, and society. Ceaușescu grew up in a poor family, and his early life was not easy. He came from a peasant background, and his family did not have much money. As a young man, he became involved in politics. In the 1930s, he joined a communist group, which believed in the idea of a society without classes, where everyone would be equal. The communists were opposed to the government at that time, and Ceaușescu quickly became known for his strong political beliefs. In the 1940s, Romania was going through a difficult period. The country was involved in World War II, and after the war ended in 1945, Romania was influenced by the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, led by Joseph Stalin, wanted to spread communism across Eastern Europe. In Romania, the Communist Party, which Ceaușescu had joined, became more powerful. In 1947, King Nicolae of Romania was forced to give up the throne, and Romania officially became a communist republic. Ceaușescu rose through the ranks of the Communist Party over the years. In 1965, after the death of Gheorghe Dej, who had been the leader of Romania, Ceaușescu became the General Secretary of the Romanian Communist Party. This was a very important position, and it meant that Ceaușescu had control over the country's politics. Ceaușescu also became the country's president in 1967, a few years after he took the position of General Secretary. As leader of Romania, Ceaușescu wanted to make Romania a stronger and more independent country. He was determined to build a strong economy and reduce Romania's reliance on other countries. One of his main goals was to improve the country's industries such as mining, agriculture, and manufacturing. He also wanted to make Romania more self-sufficient, which meant reducing the country's imports and increasing its exports. Ceaușescu's government was known for its large-scale projects. One of the most famous of these projects was the construction of the Palace of the Parliament in Bucharest. This building is one of the largest in the world, and is still a symbol of Ceaușescu's ambition. The building was meant to be a symbol of Romania's strength, but it also came at a great cost to the country. Many people were forced to leave their homes, and large amounts of money and resources were spent on the construction of the palace. Ceaușescu also focused on improving the country's infrastructure. Roads, bridges, and schools were built, and the government worked to improve healthcare and education. However, these projects came at a high price. The Romanian economy suffered due to Ceaușescu's policies, and many Romanians lived in poverty. One of the most controversial aspects of Ceaușescu's rule was his approach to the economy. He decided to pay off Romania's national debt by taking extreme measures. The government cut back on imports and reduced the supply of goods in the country. This caused severe shortages of food, medicine, and other essential goods. The government also forced people to give up their food and resources to export them to other countries. This led to widespread hunger and suffering among the people. In addition to his economic policies, Ceaușescu's regime became known for its strict control over people's lives. He created a secret police force called the Securitate, which kept a close watch on the population. The Securitate was responsible for spying on citizens, arresting anyone who opposed the government, and using fear to control the population. Ceaușescu also imposed strict censorship on the media, limiting what people could see and hear. The government controlled newspapers, television, and radio, and anyone who spoke out against the regime was punished. As the years went by, Ceaușescu's rule became more oppressive. He became more and more isolated from the people, and many Romanians began to dislike him. In the 1980s, the economy of Romania continued to struggle, and the country faced increasing poverty and hardship. People began to protest against Ceaușescu's government, and there were growing calls for change. In December 1989, a series of protests broke out in the city of Timișoara. The protests quickly spread to other cities, and soon, people across the country were demanding the end of Ceaușescu's rule. The government responded with violence, sending the army and police to crush the protests. However, the protests continued to grow, and the people of Romania were no longer afraid to stand up to their leader. On December 21, 1989, Ceaușescu appeared in front of a large crowd in Bucharest to give a speech. However, the speech quickly turned into a disaster. The crowd began to boo and shout at him, and Ceaușescu realized that he had lost the support of the people. That night, he and his wife, Elena, fled the capital in an attempt to escape the protests. The next day, the Romanian military turned against Ceaușescu. On December 22, he and his wife were captured and arrested. They were put on trial for crimes such as corruption, abuse of power, and the deaths of many people during the protests. The trial was very quick, and both Nicolae and Elena Ceaușescu were found guilty. They were sentenced to death and executed by firing squad on December 25, 1989. After Ceaușescu's death, Romania went through a period of great change. The country moved away from communism and began to build a more democratic government. The fall of Ceaușescu's regime marked the end of an era for Romania. Today, Nicolae Ceaușescu is remembered as one of the most controversial leaders in Romanian history. Some people view him as a dictator who caused great suffering, while others see him as a figure who tried to modernize Romania, even though his methods were harsh and damaging. The legacy of Nicolae Ceaușescu continues to be debated in Romania and around the world. While some remember him for his ambitious plans to improve the country, many others remember the suffering that his policies caused. Ceaușescu's story is a reminder of how power can be misused, and how the people's voice can eventually bring change to even the most oppressive regimes.